What's up, nerds? The Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, ESPN News, and SiriusXM Channel 80, and your smart speaker. Reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join us in the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. I'm debating whether to start complaining on the air to Raj about the fact that I have no return. Sometimes I think maybe it's better not to have a video return for people who are wondering, because there's a simulcast in this show, is you have a little monitor underneath your camera and you can see yourself. And I find it very distracting. I just love to look at what do I look like. But I don't have it now, Raj. Yeah, exactly. Did you do it? You did it on purpose, didn't you?
And Jacoby is.
Be a part of Max Kellerman Nation on the Dr. Pepper call-in line. ESPN Nation is presented by Dr. Pepper. It's official. College football's back, and so is your favorite Dr. Pepper-loving college football town, Fansville. Head to a store near you to treat your inner your inner college football fan to a nice cold 20-ounce Dr. Pepper today. But first, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Know who doesn't get enough credit? No, who doesn't get enough credit? Ryan Tannahill. That's right, the Tennessee Titans quarterback. Is he elite? No. He's not a top 5 quarterback or something. But you notice how as soon as he took over, it's very complicated, all these electronics. I have to move my phone or it interferes with the microphone. But I have Zoom up here looking at all the notes and everything and the rundown. And I like to have my phone. I'm very attached to it. Even my kids know, like, Dad, put your phone down. Anyway, getting back to Ryan Tannehill. I'm easily distracted. Maybe a phone's not so good for me. No, he's not elite. But did you notice how as soon as he took over for the Titans, they started winning and they barely lose? Team hardly ever loses with him as quarterback. And I know Jimmy Garoppolo got benched recently, and I was making the same case.
When I come on here, you give me the proper introduction that I deserve, okay? Don't just say Kendrick Perkins on the line. Give me the proper introduction.
Here's the problem, Perk. My Zoom screen crashed. I'd have to log back on. Usually, Raj writes all the things because of social distancing with COVID. Everything's done remote nowadays, so everything's written in front of me for all the introductions and stuff. But I don't have it in front of me, so I just said Kendrick Perkins is on the line. But, you know, so I would take responsibility for it, but I hate taking responsibility. I'd rather pass it off to my producers. In this case, Raj Groves. He messed up Perk. So he's very sorry. Raj, why don't you apologize to Kendrick Perkins? I think it's not on.
No.
There he is. Yeah. There it is. He's like your hype man,
Ryan,
Perk.
That's what I'm talking about. You see, hey, Max, it don't have to be scripted. You know your history. You're a smart guy. You know what Big Perk is.
Yeah. So, Big Perk, I want to enter a few things into our ZipRecruiter job search engine, job matching engine, to see where's the best place for, well, we could start with Ty Lue, right? Where is the best job for Ty Lue? First, I want your opinion. Kendrick Perkins, Clippers or Houston Rockets?
The Houston Rockets. Look, everything is set up perfectly for Ty Lue. You know, my grandmother used to say, and my grandparents, because I got an old soul, everything happens for a reason. God don't make mistakes. Ty Lue, his mother, she lives down here in Houston, Texas. Why not come down here and be close to Mom, first of all? Second of all, he's the best candidate for Russell Westbrook and James Harden. I keep telling you that. No other coach out there is going to be able to have the relationship with those guys on and off the court to get the best out of them that they're going to respect. Everyone knows that Russell Westbrook is an alpha male, and if he has a coach that he don't respect, he could sometimes run over them. He's not going to do that with Ty Lue because of the respect level that they have for one another, and they've been knowing each other for over the last 5 or 6 years. Same with James Harden.
Kendrick Perkins, I know that you feel that it is the Houston Rockets, but we need to consult the ZipRecruiter job search engine to see they have matching technology. They match the best candidates to the best jobs. 4 out of 5 employers, by the way, Perk, find a qualified candidate within the first day. So there's an 80% chance of being right, is how I'm going to interpret that. Raj, can we enter Ty Lue, all the relevant information, his resume and everything, into the ZipRecruiter job search engine, and let's see what the computer says. Is it going to be the Clippers or the Houston Rockets?
Okay, he's back on Zoom.
Okay. Perk, Zoom just came up, and I'm reading the results right now. You ever see the old Adam West Batman series,
Yeah,
Perk?
I saw all of them.
The Bat computer? That's kind of what this is. And it says, I'm sorry, Perk, you're wrong. The ZipRecruiter job search machine has matched them with the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers are, in fact, the answer. That is the best destination for Ty Lue. The reason being, Kawhi and Paul George are, in fact, a more devastating combination than James Harden and Russell Westbrook, as proved by these playoffs. What do you have to say to that?
Well, first of all, I was born, but I wasn't born yesterday. So you and Raj can't pull that ZipRecruiter thing on me. I know that's manually done by you and Raj, so y'all can't fool me with that. All right?
What?
Second of all, I'm going to tell you why. Russell Westbrook and James Harden is a better duo than Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Stop putting Paul George in that conversation with those 3 guys. Paul George he wasn't even a top 15 player this year, let alone a top 5 or a top 10. Russell Westbrook was. Russell Westbrook, 3rd team All-NBA, shot the highest field goal percentage that he's did in his entire career. He shot 47% from the field. He was the most efficient. Look, in my eyes, this was the best basketball that I've seen Russell Westbrook play before the playoffs, because he was dealing with an injury in his quad that he should have been sidelined for the remainder of the season, but he chose to go out there and play, and rightfully so, because that's the type of Mamba mentality he has. But when you talk about the best job, you have James Harden, who's arguably one of the best scorers to ever touch the damn basketball, Max Kellerman, and you pairing them up with Russell Westbrook, and then you add a Ty Lue in there with an Eric Gordon who's coming in off the bench, a 6th Man of the Year candidate who's still in his prime. I believe more in his prime right now than Lou Will is. And by the way, we don't even know if the Clippers are going to sign Montrezl Harrell. He's a free agent. They have a lot of teams that have a lot of interest in him. We don't even know if they're going to get the Morris twin back. One thing we know about the Rockets is that Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Robert Covington, and Eric Gordon are all coming back. And
by the way, Daniel House
and P.J. Tucker is coming back. I talked to P.J. Tucker, and he's looking for a house right now, right around the area where I stay at. So the core of the Rockets is stronger than the core of the Clippers.
Listen, this is Straight Talk Wireless. Raj, when you do that, I can't read it. No contract, no compromise. Kendrick Perkins, NBA analyst, joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Perk, you know, there was a guy named Warner Wolf when I was growing up, a legendary broadcaster, sports broadcaster on the local news in New York. I think he was in D.C. too for a time. And he used to say, let's go to the videotape. And when I was a kid, I always thought he was talking to the viewer, right? Like, he's telling me here we're going to see some video. But in fact, what I learned is he's talking to the producer. When he says, let's go to the videotape, if they don't go there, it's on the producer. He called them out. And so I need to figure out the same thing to get my producer in shape, Perk. I got to figure out what to do. Now, listen. This is the way it is. Perk, you're wrong about this opinion, and I will tell you why. I know it's an opinion, but you're very wrong about this. When Paul George and Russell Westbrook were on the same team, Paul George was the best player. He was the best player. Now, Russell Westbrook had a lot to do with that. You're right. Russell Westbrook's not selfish like everyone thinks. He's trying to win. He just hasn't been very good at winning at the highest level. He's been on a lot of talented teams, went to one finals. They were babies, but man, were they talented, and lost. He was not able to win playoff series consistently enough with KD, considering the level of talent there. And just now, he and James Harden, that team, underperformed. Now, Russell Westbrook's my favorite player to watch, but Paul George, as much as he goes away in the playoffs, I'm not comparing their hearts. Paul George is what, a 6'8", 6'9", two-way wing who can shoot and defend? Dude, they're not growing on trees, and you pair him with Kawhi, who's better than James Harden. It's a better combination.
It is not a better combination, Max. We're talking about Russell Westbrook, the most athletic point guard in the league. And let's not even talk about James Harden. This guy's really unguardable. And the thing that this Houston Rockets team is missing is one word: structure. Structure.
Shots under pressure?
Let's not talk about shots under pressure, because at least they wasn't hitting the side of the backboard. You talk about shots under pressure. Let me not go in on Paul George right now and you bring up the word shots under pressure. I mean, look.
You could do it. Look,
Kawhi Leonard had to.
You could do it if Paul George was a clutch player. Maybe they could have competed against the Lakers. Paul George has not been clutch in the playoffs, and Kawhi, who's always seemingly always dependable under pressure, folded in Game 7, fourth quarter. I call it like it is, brother. I'm not trying to hide from that, and I took Kawhi the whole time, and I was wrong. It's just because you were a certain way in the past doesn't always mean you're going to come through in the future. Just because James Harden's choked a lot in the past doesn't mean he'll always choke. But let's call it what it is. James Harden has choked more than any superstar in the NBA.
He choked because he's met the Golden State Warriors time and time again in the Western Conference. He choked because he missed. He kept
shots.
He kept going against some of the greatest teams to ever be assembled in the Golden State Warriors, a 73-9 team, and those two teams that had Kevin Durant. That's choking.
So hit shots. So what? I thought you just said he's unguardable. He's one of the greatest offensive players.
Short.
You know, like, they have Kevin Durant. Yeah, well, you have James Harden. That's supposed to be a match.
Short, Max. His number short.
Not under pressure. Not under pressure, Perk. Let's be honest. Look, I appreciate the fact you made a very good argument for why a Ty Lue coached Rockets team it'd be a better match than a Ty Lue coached Clippers team. Unfortunately, the ZipRecruiter job search engine, their matching technology, says you're wrong. Now, Perk, here's the good news. It's 4 out of 5 candidates, a quality one you get for an employer in the first 24 hours. So that's an 80% hit rate. All right? So you have a 20% chance of being right. That's the great Kendrick Perkins, ladies and gentlemen. That dude right there is a star. The Max Kellerman Show brought to you by Shell V-Power Nitro Premium Gasoline. Up next, what does Jerry Jones think about the criticism he received for not giving Dak a contract? Last week is in the books. Now it's time to review the tape and prepare for this week. There's no better place to get in on all the action than with DraftKings, official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. To add to this week's excitement, DraftKings has a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. The Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. For a chance to win 10 grand plus a virtual meet and greet with the Dan Le Batard Show gang, text Le Batard to 77333. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts. Limit 1 entry per day. See advanceautoparts.com for details. Jerry Jones responded to criticism for not getting the Dak Prescott deal done. Quote, "We've got to be reminded that we have a team. We've got to really manage how we dole out our resources." I'm going to stop here for a second. Jerry Jones was responsible for spearheading the salary cap. As soon as it was signed into law in the NFL, it became a rule, he signed Deion Sanders. Everyone said, wait, you just spearheaded the campaign for a salary cap. You can't afford Deion Sanders. You're over the cap. He said, no. See, this is a signing bonus, and we're going to prorate it over this money number of years. So I'm not in violation of the cap. That's where all the signing bonus stuff came from and the guaranteed money, like the way we think of it's all Jerry Jones. He pioneered it. It took people a few years to catch up to him, and since then he hasn't won a Super Bowl. But he pulled a little trick in the beginning, a little parlor trick. When the league, if you have a little advance, if you've, as Lupe Fiasco said, you improve on the design, did you do something new? If you do, you're ahead of the curve, right? But then the league's going to adjust to you. The world will adjust. You got another move, or was that just a parlor trick you came up with? Or can you readjust now and stay ahead of the pack? Jerry Jones could not readjust. So he's talking about limited resources, and he had got a whole team to spread that around. See, my hands are tied. I'd like to spend the money. I can't because he spearheaded the campaign to make sure he couldn't spend the money. Let me go on quoting Jerry Jones. Dak is deserving of anything that you want to put on a piece of paper, relatively speaking. What does that mean? Any number you write? What if you wrote a number that he's not worth? Relative to what? What do you mean, relatively speaking? I guess what he's saying is he's worth a whole lot relative to your entire cap, right? Because he plays quarterback. Quarterbacks get played a lot, and he plays it very well. He's deserving of that. Quoting Jerry Jones, if you evaluate what he can do to help us win championships, you can see that it's there. Okay, I don't know. They haven't come close to winning a championship with Dak, a great offensive line, offensive talent everywhere, and sometimes defensive talent. More Jerry Jones. Plus, he's a leader at the premier leader spot. We've got to make it work. So what am I saying? I'm saying exactly the same thing I said the last time I was asked about this before the season started. This is part of the game, the business and the contract part. If I were Dak, I'd be more reassured that Jerry intends to negotiate. That's what that whole thing sounds like to me. I want to negotiate with Dak Prescott. Now, reportedly, I don't know what the guarantee was, but reportedly, Dak was offered 5 years, $175 million, $35 million a year. And reportedly, the problem from Dak's agent's point of view was the fourth year of the deal. He wanted $45 million in the fourth year instead of $35 million. Now, it's interesting when these details leak. If it sounds like a lot, that's usually the team leaking it. If it sounds like a lot, especially when they don't tell you the guarantee, that's usually the team leaking it. They're trying to make the player look bad or greedy, or the agent look bad or greedy. We don't know what the guarantee was. But let's assume, like, the first offer reportedly put Dak right in line with Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. A little bit light, but right in line with those guys. And that means in terms of the guarantee. And the latest report was that he was offered like Russell Wilson type money, right? Now, if it's true and if the guarantee went up off the original guarantee, then Dak Prescott's agent was making the following calculation. To get the extra $10 million in year 5, because that's the year everyone thinks the salary cap's going up because of increased revenue, right? So they want to redo, they want a 4-year deal so they can re-up. Instead, the Cowboys saying, nope, we want a 5-year deal so we don't have to re-up in that final year. The agent's like, well, then put $10 million more in that year. And the Cowboys said no. So you mean to tell me you risked over $100 million and what the guarantee, an enormous guarantee for $10 million in year 5? Doesn't make any sense. You're going to redo the whole deal anyway. If not, like $10 million more on a contract when you're talking about 9 figures, meaning over $100 million, is such a small percentage overall of the money that to risk the entire money seems silly. Now Jerry Jones sounds to me saying, okay, let's negotiate. You're coming off a catastrophic injury. Did that last offer, does that sound a little better to you now? Don't tell me about the numbers Dak is putting up. Dak puts up numbers. They're playing, look, they don't have a defense. They're giving up a lot of points. They got to throw a lot. So Dak is looking good with the numbers. And by the way, not anyone could do what he's doing, having to throw, come from behind, whatever. He's really good. I wouldn't say he's elite, but he's really good, and he's getting better. And if he can show that he's physically the same guy when he gets back from injury next year, I think he'll have a big fat contract offer. And I believe he'd be more inclined to sign it then. From what I'm hearing and from multiple sources, this is maybe on the agent. And I think the Cowboys are in a little bit better of a negotiating position than they were. For everyone's like, well, why isn't Jerry locked them up? Look, the unfortunate thing for Dak before the injury in his personal life, losing a brother is devastating. You know, my heart goes out to him. I'm talking about in terms of the money in his career, because this is what this contract's about, is that as a fourth-round pick, the Cowboys waited until the 11th hour to pay him. They juiced him on that rookie deal, $2 million a year, stuff like that. And they should have locked him up a couple years ago, and they would have saved some money, penny wise and pound foolish. And now Jerry Jones is saying, okay, I'm going to pay you like Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. By the way, Carson Wentz and Jared Goff, those are bad contracts. You think those teams would give those contracts out again? And Dak, the reason you like him better than those guys, one of the main kind of pillars of the argument is his durability. Now he has a catastrophic injury. And the Cowboys are saying, and I'm really not usually on the side of management. I'm on the side of labor usually. But in this case, the Cowboys are saying, you know those two guys who you came into the league with, and it's unclear who's going to have the best career out of the three of you so far? Depending on the week almost. No, I'd like Goff. No, I like Dak. No, I like Carson Wentz. Right now, I'd put Dak 1, even with the injury, because Wentz has regressed. And Goff is good given the right circumstance. I think Dak would be pretty good wherever he went. I think he'll get better. But you know the contract that was given to your contemporaries in your draft class, and it's unclear who's going to be the best among the three of you in the end? Those contracts are mistakes. We'll give you the same contract. We'll give you the same. I know they were mistakes for the other teams. We believe in you. We're going to give you the same contract. And Dak's agent's looking around going, no, we want not only a Russell Wilson contract, we want an out so that we can take advantage of the new CBA and the increased salary cap we think is coming. And if you don't give us that out, you want that fifth year, we want $10 million more than Russell Wilson. And I don't think they'll be saying that anymore after this. Dak will have a marketplace, by the way. There'll be suitors for his services because he's an upgrade over a lot of quarterbacks for teams that are ready to win. But coming off this injury, I'll bet you that Cowboys offer is going to look a lot better to him. And I think that's what Jerry Jones is saying. Is there a team that needs to trade for Matt Ryan right now? No Doubt is next. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Quoting home insurance just got easier with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer.